Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. A'udzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनु तक़ुल्लाहा हक़्क़ तुक़ातिही वला तमूतुन्ना इल्ला व अंतुम मुस्लिमून। या अय्युहन्नास इत्तक़ू रब्बकुम अल्लज़ी ख़लक़कुम मिन नफ़्सिन वाहिदा व ख़लक़ मिन्हा ज़ौजहा व बस्सा मिनहुमा रिजालन कसीरन व निसाअ वत्तक़ुल्लाहा अल्लज़ी तसाअलूना बिही वल अरहाम इन्नल्लाहा काना अलैकुम रकीबा। या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनुत्तक़ुल्लाहा वक़ूलू क़ौलन सदीदा युस्लिह लकुम आमालकुम व यग़फ़िर लकुम ज़ुनूबकुम व मन युतिअल्लाह व रसूलहु फ़क़द फ़ाज़ा फ़ौज़न अज़ीमा। अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। Have you ever wondered why so much of the Quran is allegorical? It needs to be so. For how else could ghaib, the unseen divine mystery, be conveyed to us? An allegory or a parable is meant to stir contemplation. The radiance of Allah, Al-Nur, is conveyed as a parable. Jannah and Jahannam are conveyed as parables. A parable adapts to its contemplator, who sees it in the daylight of his or her own era and through the prism of their own intellect. It offers tailored insight into one's own journey. In that spirit, allow me, your fellow student of the Quran, to reflect on the parable of shirk related in Surah Kahf. Shirk, assigning partners with God, or the attribution of divine powers to other than the One, is an insidious spiritual cancer. It features in Luqman's short list of warnings to his son. Ya bunayya la tushrik billahi, inna shirka la zulmun azim. My dear son, do not associate partners with God. Of certain, the attribution of divinity to other than one is indeed a transcendent misattribution. The parable of shirk in Surah Kahf is of profound relevance to us Muslims. Tawheed is not a passing milestone, it's a lifelong journey. And false worship is not confined to idols of stone. This parable tells of two men debating the meaning of life. One of them is rich, blessed with the bounty of two perfect gardens. The other man is with limited material means. The rich man is not a mushrik in the classic sense. He does not worship stone idols, nor does he expressly reject the idea of one God. But his wealth and abundance lead him into delusion. He dismisses the warnings of the other man and slides into the spiritual ruin of shirk, more ruinous than the worship of carved stone. This is the rare, if not the only instance in the Quran wherein a person confesses to and regrets having fallen into shirk. In fact, he cries out in anguish in verse 1842, Ya laytani lam ushrik bi rabbi ahada. Ah, I wish I had not associated anyone with my Rabb. Our parable is found in verses 32 through 44 of Surah Al-Kahf. وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا رَجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لِأَحْدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ مِنْ أَعْنَابٍ وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا كِلْتَا الْجَنَّتَيْنِ آتَتْ أُكُلَهَا وَلَمْ تَظْلِمْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا وَفَجَّرْنَا خِلَالَهُمَا نَهْرًا. Unfold for them the parable of two men. We rendered two gardens of grapes for one of them. We surrounded the two with date palms, and we situated the crops between the two. Each of the two gardens yielded its produce, and never was anything from him at cross purpose. And we released a stream between the two. Let us contemplate the divine we that occurs 4 times in these verses. God lists, we rendered the two gardens of grapes for one of them. We surrounded the two gardens with date palms. We situated the crops, and we released the stream. That is how all gardens come to be. That is the reality with uppercase, behind the earthly reality, the lowercase reality. And having thus made the garden, our merciful Rabb marks the fruit for this man. Wakana lahu thamarun. And for him was a definite harvest. And losing sight of the uppercase reality of where the garden came from, what does the rich man tell the other man? Ana aktharu minka malan wa a'azzu nafara. I exceed you in wealth, and I am mightier in head count. That was 1834, Kahf 34. Deluded thus, he would enter his garden with a misplaced sense of himself and would say, Ma azunnu an tabida hazihi abada, wa ma azunna sa'ata qa'imatan, wa la irrudittu ila rabbi la ajidanna khayrum minha munqalaba. I do not think that this will ever perish, and neither do I think that the last hour is set. And even if I am sent back to my Rabb, I shall find something even better than this in the next turn. This man reeks of a sense of entitlement. Yet note that he is not guilty of stone idol worship. Neither is he beholden to an earthly master. His notion that his Rabb will give him an even better garden if he were to be brought before him may even be construed as his tacit, if half-hearted, recognition of God being the source of his garden. But the idol of I, me, and mine has taken shape. Can someone tell me if I'm being heard, if I'm coming across?
Yes, everything's good.
Okay. But the idol of I, me, and mine has taken shape. It is made not of stone, but of a rising ego. Did we note how he played God when he stated, I do not think this will ever perish. I do not think the last hour is preset. I will get better than this in the next turn. He has effectively fashioned his own truths and his own God. The Rabb he had fashioned will not call for any accountability. In fact, he has already judged himself worthy. Remember Qarun? He expressed a similar delusion. He says in verse 28:78, "My wealth has been given to me only because of my knowledge and my know-how." Yes, it is the law of nature, Sunnat Allah, that working hard and smart will produce good results. However, we tend to forget that our ability to work hard and work smarter, they too were given to us by Allah. Tughyan, extreme imperiousness, where the ego has bolted from the stable, is the far extreme of the delusion of shirk, in which one replaces God with himself. The more we have, the grander is our delusion. Pharaoh, whose Tughyan had made him spiritually deaf and blind, boasts defiantly in verse 43:51, "Do the rivers not flow subservient to me?" The man with the two bountiful gardens reeks of the same ego. His fellow man, his Musa, we will call him Hanif, tries to break his delusion. The Hanif reminds the rich man that he owed his very existence to Allah. أَكَفَرْتَ بِالَّذِي خَلَقَكَ مِن تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ مِن نُطْفَةٍ ثُمَّ سَوَّاكَ رَجُلًا لَكِنَّ هُوَ اللَّهُ رَبِّي وَلَا أُشْرِكُ بِرَبِّي أَحَدًا. Are you ungrateful to him who created you from dust, then from a drop of semen, and thereafter has shaped you into an individual? But as for myself, He, Allah, is my Rabb. I do not associate anyone with my Rabb. Kahf 37:38. And the Hanif then reminds him of the uppercase reality. وَلَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Why had you not said when you entered your garden, or why had you not realized when you entered your garden, whatever there is, Allah has willed. There is no power except with Allah. He then reminds him that everything in the physical realm, including our capacity, is subject to inevitable change. He continues, "If you view me lesser than you in wealth and offspring, then such too is possible, that my Rabb gives me something better than your garden, and He sends upon your garden a calamity from the sky, or that in a day's turn it becomes slippery powder, or in a day's turn its water sinks deep, such that never would you be able to fetch it." Kahf 39:41. La quwwata illa billah. We have no power against change. There is no power save with Allah. Sidelining this truth, this uppercase reality, is to live the falsehood of shirk. Some of us are rich only because some others are poor. This truth awakens the heart of a Hanif, and this same truth blights the heart of a mushrik or a would-be mushrik. A rich man who nurtures the delusion of self-superiority or claims entitlement, in effect, ascribes a lesser God for people with less. That is plain shirk. The difference between the two men is that the Hanif sees life through the prism of faith, and the man with the two gardens views faith through the prism of life. And then comes the inevitable transition which awaits everything earthly. وأحيط بثمره فأصبح يقلب كفيه على ما أنفق فيها وهي خاوية على عروشها ويقول يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا. His fruitful garden came under siege, and there he was facing a new phase, wringing his hands over all that he had invested in it, while now upon its frames lay desolation, and he lamented, Ah, would that I had not associated anyone with my Rabb. Kahf 42. And now his utter helplessness and complete dependence upon God was plain for him and everyone else to see. وَلَمْ تَكُنْ لَهُ فِيَةٌ يُنْصِرُونَهُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ وَمَا كَانَ مُنْتَصِرًا هُنَالِكَ الْوَلَايَةُ لِلَّهِ الْحَقِّ هُوَ خَيْرٌ ثَوَابٌ وَخَيْرٌ عُقْبًا. And he was to have no able helpers other than Allah helping him, nor was he capable of helping himself. There, the ultimate patronage belongs to Allah, the reality. He is the best to reward and the best to determine what is to be. It is not that this man who confessed to his shirk did not expend effort or money on his garden. He had forgotten that what he had expended, even that was from Allah. Allahu Akbar. We need not feel sorry for this mushrik. He has woken up to the truth and stands at the portal of repentance. We need to examine our own delusions. Our transitions are coming. Like this man who discovered that the wide array of helpers was of no help, we too should take heed. La taziru waziratun wizra ukhra. No load carrier shall carry the burden of another. Earthly gardens are a mere trust. The gardens with permanent subservient rivers are not here. Are there better gardens for us in our next turn? The sole judge of our trusteeship is Ahkumul Hakimeen. The idol of I, me, and mine is an insidious one. Take it from Rumi. Your nafs is the mother of all idols. The material is a snake, but the spiritual idol is a dragon. It is easy to break an idol of clay. Very easy. To regard the self as easy to subdue is folly, nothing but folly. One does not become a Hanif by merely eradicating forms and images and art from one's home or one's spaces. After all, Allah allowed Sulaiman alayhi salam to make architectural statues. Ibrahim alayhi salam left an idol standing to expose people's idiocy. We are forbidden to eat pork, but hating pigs is not the objective. Self-veneration is more insidious than the veneration of clay idols. The idol of ego is nurtured by us. A stone idol worshipper leaves his gods behind when he walks away from them. Our ego shadows us for all our waking hours. We are only trustees of our life and wealth and faculties. Ownership belongs solely to the One. Kullu man alayha fan wa yabqa wajhu rabbika zul jalali wal ikram. And whatsoever there is upon it is its inevitable demise. And to remain forever is the face of thy Rabb, the owner of all majesty and largesse. To negate that reality or to reject our pending accountability to Him is shirk. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. The two men in this parable are also two distinct selves of us. Our accountable self, call it al-nafs al-lawama if you will, and our lower egotistical self, call it al-nafs al-amara if you will. When the lower self prevails, it manifests outwardly in arrogance and entitlement. A man who feels entitled to a higher status denies oneness by attaching more significance to his own self than to one with less. Brothers and sisters, wealth is not proof of Allah's love. Poverty is not proof of His disapproval. Both are merely tests. Everything we are given in this world and everything withheld from us is part of a divine test. Hardship and ease bring their own tests. Hardship often tests patience rooted in faith. Ease and abundance often test humility and vigilance against shirk. We are ushered into existence, hosted by the Creator. Our materials are provided for us. Our tools are facilitated for us. Even our creativity is gifted to us. After all the physical change that we will bring during our lifetimes, we will leave without adding an extra atom to His universe. The false notions of self-sufficiency and superiority are delusions. The I or me of our being is only through His being. He, As-Samad, is the source and reference of all being. We are each but a drop from the sea, destined to return to it. In the parable of the two men, the Hanif tells the eternally guiding truth, La quwwata illa billah. A Muslim hadith declares a sacred trust between us and our Rabb. The Prophet says, Allah has a right that we worship Him. Allah has a right that we should worship Him and not associate anything with Him. And to those who have respected that divine right, Allah assures them that in return, He will not punish them. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhallazina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. May Allah grant us vigilance against every form of shirk and hearts that bow only to Him, the One, Al-Ahad, As-Samad, Al-Wahid, Al-Qahar. Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Rabbana taqabbal minna, innaka antas samiul alim. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar wal baghi ya'izukum la'allakum tazakkarun. Fazkurullah یذکرکم واشکروہ یزدکم ولذکر اللہ اکبر واللہ یعلم ما تصنعون۔ حاکم الصلاح۔